The Florida Gators, and more appropriately, Scott Strickland, Florida Gators athletic director, have announced that Billy Napier will return as the Florida Gators head coach in 2025, despite what anyone feels, whether it's logical or not.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators. It is live. Your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And the Florida Gators have announced that Billy Napier is coming back. And before I even give an opinion on it, you're welcome to give an opinion on it. I know where I stand, but we'll talk about that in a second. I understand why they put out a statement. And by that I mean I know why Scott Strickland and the Florida Gators felt the need to put out a statement of, hey, we're bringing back Billy Napier to be the head coach of the Florida Gators once again in 2025, because your recruiting class is terrible right now, right? And a big part of your recruiting class being terrible is, well, simply put, everyone thinks you're going to get fired, right? In fact, I'll put it in the chat now. Should the Florida Gators have brought Billy Napier back? And there we go. We've got the yes or no in there. But yeah, this is just brutal, ugly. And yeah, the Florida Gators are bringing back Billy Napier because your recruiting class is so bad. You had to put out the announcement that, hey, he's coming back. Because then, also think about it, you are less than a month away from early signing day, or the early signing period. You put out this announcement, and it's like, okay, well, Georgia, Florida State, Miami, Alabama, anybody else that you're recruiting against will not be able to come out and say, yeah, but Billy's not going to be there next year. Here's the thing. Florida's not going to end this year well. Or at least I don't think so. I think they win one more game. Florida State, depending on DJ Lagway and his status, I fully expect him to be out this week. But I feel like you just kick the can down the road, right? Because next summer, you're not going to have a good recruiting class. Right? I think we can all kind of chalk that one already. Next summer, you're not going to have a good recruiting class for the 2026 class. Okay? Because next summer is going to be the same thing as this summer, where it's like, well, he's on the hot seat because, and we spoke about this, a couple of weeks ago, and since then we've also spoken about it, but if Billy Napier comes back for 2025, then the 2026 recruiting class is going to know that, hey, he made it through by the skin of his teeth, which means that next year he might not be here, as in meaning 2026, which means why would I commit to that? Okay, so that's why Scott Strickland had to put out the statement about whether or not they were keeping Billy, because then you knock out the question mark of whether or not he will be here. That does not make it a good decision. Just want to make that one clear. And I will also say this, that I first off, I think you should have announced it weeks ago if you were doing this. But I do think that this wasn't, oh, we were always committed to him. I don't like that people are doing that. I think that this is truly the embarrassment of Florida, because I think it is them saying keeping games close and playing hard is good enough at the University of Florida in 2024. And that's embarrassing. If you ask me, at least, I feel like that's simply not how it should be. But even Scott Strickland was like, oh, you can tell by the way these guys are playing. What the hell does that mean? I get they're playing tough. You don't win national championships for playing tough and losing games. You win national championships for winning games. And that's the goal, right? I said going into the season, I thought that this was a team that, would, I don't know, win 7 games with good coaching, but they don't have that. So I said 5 or 6 going out the whole summer. That was my point. That statement's about as important as the signature I put on the Columbia House subscription in the 90s. Don't know which statement you are referring to. But I will again say, I think that Scott Strickland felt the need to put out that statement because, which I'm assuming that's the statement that you were talking about, the entire statement, not a specific line. But that's why he had to put out that statement, just because it allows you to qualm that. And yes, you can say that it's not important at all. Sure. But as long as Billy Napier can say, hey, look at this, like we're good here. I do think they're going to keep Billy Napier for another year. I don't think it's for anything other than they're fine with mediocrity. And let's call it what it is. Right now, so far, Florida has been a mediocre team under Billy Napier. And I don't think that they care about that. Because this isn't the first time Scott Strickland has committed to mediocrity. Because don't forget, Mike White was bad at Florida, and Scott Strickland gave him a contract extension and then fired him the next year or the same season. But Scott Strickland had given him a contract extension before. Because don't forget, they extended Mike White and Dan Mullen and then fired them both. So that's where we were at with that. It's tough. I will also say this. I hate the idea of keeping Billy Napier for another year for the same thing that I've been saying. Last year, people were calling for him to be fired when the recruiting class fell apart. And I said, you have to give him at least year 3. Hopefully, if he tanks, then the UAA gets canned, which they're not going to do because, again, like I've been saying, upper administration at the University of Florida, spineless cowards, spineless losers, whatever you want to use. So that's where I stand on them. But, I mean, it's just, it pisses me off. But I was always saying year 3 because he either turns it around or he doesn't, and that's when you get to fire him. Because for me, I think year 3 is a good time to know that a coach cannot win you a national championship. I think if they answer that question, which I think that Billy Napier answered the question of no, I cannot win you a national championship, then I think it's time to cut bait. If they give you at least a little bit of pause, if you go, hey, can he win you a national championship? And your answer is maybe, then I think it's a bit different. Then I think you give him another year. But I think Billy Napier has proven that no, he will not be the head coach to win a national championship at the University of Florida. I will also say that there are far too many fans right now victory lapping that he's coming back. If I told you he's coming back, he's our coach, he's this, he's that. Just because they're bringing him back, it does not mean that those of us who want him fired are wrong. It means that 1, we have higher expectations for the University of Florida, and 2, that the University of Florida may have made a bad decision. If he ends up working out, then sure, gloat all you want. But if he gets fired next year, need you guys to admit that you're the clowns that were wrong. He's 15-18. He's 4-4, and he's probably going to finish 5-7 again. Brutal. I do think that, again, this is a further testament of committing to mediocrity, accepting mediocrity, and we will get to the rest of the chat next when we come back on Locked On Gators. And I see you asking about what the other options are. We'll gloss over those. Not going to go too in-depth on things, but we will talk about those next on Locked On Gators. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth, and these generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for product-specific disclosures. Visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. And if you're looking to make some money, Go to FanDuel to tackle the NFL action, NBA action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, on the NBA, during the MLB season. There's that as well, college football as well. It's FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free for listen to the podcast, and sometimes twice a day when they make announcements like this that Billy Napier is returning to the Florida Gators in 2025. And we will get back to the chat now here. First off, I see Rob S. saying, I'm hearing they're forcing him to get an OC. One, that's what we were told last year. That's what people said last year with recruits saying that. Because, again, that's where it came out, if I'm not mistaken. On3 reported earlier today that a blue chip recruit in the 2025 class told them, I was told that he's going to have to hire an OC. That's what we were told last year. And what happened? He spoke with multiple people. I will give him credit. He spoke with multiple people, felt like they weren't the right choice, and so he promoted Russ Callaway to co-offensive coordinator. Okay? Here's my thing. What's to stop him from doing that again? Because, again, we were told that last year. What's to stop him from just coming back this winter again and going, hey, I spoke with guys. I didn't feel comfortable with them leading the offense. I'm going to do it again. I think it gives us the best chance to win. I don't get what's to stop him from doing that. What's going to happen in the offensive line? The offensive line is playing decent this year. Recruiting, they have not recruited nearly enough quality offensive linemen. And I do think that your quantity matters as well, because let's say you hit 50% on your offensive linemen about whether or not they are good players at the SEC level, right? Florida brought in, 4 last year I think 5 this year for the year prior, and have 0 committed right now. That's not exactly super promising for your long-term offensive line strength, right? So I don't care about the coaching staff stuff of, I was told he needs to hire an offensive coordinator. That doesn't matter, because we were told that last year too. And all he did was promote Russ Callaway to co-OC. But the main thing people needed Billy Napier to give up was to give up play calling duty. And he didn't do that. Was supposed to, didn't. Does this mean we're putting half the buyout in recruiting and transfer portal since the buyout goes down next year? I hope so. Genuinely. I feel like, because, again, we were told that they got the money. I was told privately that they have the money for the buyout after the Texas A&M game, I believe it was. And so if you had that money, assuming you want to spend it on something, and it's not just being cheap, what's our other option as far as a head coach? I mean, look, I don't think anybody should bank on Lane Kiffin. I think he's very fickle, but Lane Kiffin would be a guy that you can talk to. There are candidates that you can go, because I see you saying we have a better chance at Lagway staying. There are candidates that you can go and get that would keep Lagway. Okay? I know that people talk about, like Lagway loves Billy. I don't doubt that at all. I don't know that the Lagway family, I don't doubt that the Lagway family loves Billy Napier. Doesn't mean he's the only coach they'd play for, right? Or that Lagway would play for and the family would stay for, right? There's other options available. Lane Kiffin's one of them, and Lane Kiffin's probably the most talked about one. I don't think Dan Lanning or Lincoln Riley were very reasonable. I don't think Kurt Signetti would be a good hire long-term at the University of Florida, but there are options that could have kept DJ Lagway around, right? I can't answer specifically who it would be. I don't know. I'm not DJ Lagway, obviously. I can't answer that, but there are options available. It's not that he's super duper tied to Billy Napier, especially if Napier does get fired. Do you think Florida made the right decision? What do you think about Strickland? I think Scott Strickland should be fired expeditiously, if not sooner. I thought he should have been fired a long time ago. He should have been fired for the women's basketball coach, Cam Neubauer, that whole scandal that happened. He should have been fired for. I think he should have been gone. I think he's here because the people that make the decisions at Florida are spineless losers and spineless cowards. Okay. I don't know what but Lagway does means. Don't know. I'd rather have two old ladies in lawn chairs arguing than Billy. Yeah. Scott's hedging his bets with that statement. It looks good on Florida and lowers the price for a new head coach as well. Maybe. But it's also, I feel like the need to put out that statement further indicates that you don't have a good, stable head coach right now. Because if you have a good, stable head coach, you don't need to put out that statement, right? If his job's not in jeopardy and wasn't in jeopardy, you wouldn't need to put out that statement. Like if it wasn't in jeopardy at any point, you don't need to put out that statement, okay? Because it wouldn't be a question. But that's the situation that you're in right now, right? And so, yeah, maybe it's them lowering the buyout. I don't know. But if you were truly confident in Billy Napier, you could have put out that statement weeks ago. Because it's always been, hey, this recruiting class probably isn't going to be good because we don't know if Billy Napier is going to be here next year. If you were honest about that, maybe it'd be different. For Will Fisher saying Lane wasn't coming, he just signed a 1-year extension. He won a game that got them, I believe it was when he hits bowl eligibility or when he wins 7 games, that it automatically triggers a 1-year contract extension, which means nothing. It doesn't lower his buyout at all. It doesn't raise his buyout at all. It doesn't impact his buyout. So as far as whether or not he would have left, that's irrelevant. Because again, he didn't sign an extension. He had a clause in his contract that automatically activated or automatically gave him a 1-year extension to his contract. It doesn't really, grand scheme of things, it just gives him more job security. It doesn't do anything for him staying. It gives him more benefit from getting fired, I guess. But again, buyout doesn't change there. What if DJ transfers in the offseason? I don't think that that's going to happen. DJ posted the statement with a gator and I believe like 2 hearts. I do believe that DJ Lagway likes playing for Billy Napier. I do believe that, absolutely. So I don't think DJ Lagway is going to leave. I'm sure that people are going to tamper with him and try to go. Because, again, let's be honest. Players at every school are getting tampered with, right? Like, I don't think that's a secret. It's not like, and I don't think that me saying, hey, someone's already tampering with him, I don't think that means anything, really. Like, people are going to do it. People are always going to contact a player and be like, hey, you leaving? Yeah, I don't think that he's going to leave, but we'll see. But yeah, again, I don't think he's going to leave. I know that people are going to be like, oh, he's getting tampered with. That's fine. Everybody's getting tampered with at this point. It's college football in 2024. That's how things work now. Florida's ranked 51st in recruiting and 15th in the SEC. I don't know if trying to keep one player is worth it. One player doesn't make a team. Yeah, I think that when you look at, because I don't think, oh, you keep Lagway. Like if you keep Napier, you keep Lagway. I don't think that's a good enough reason, by the way. I want to make that clear. That's where I stand on that. I don't think that you keep any one individual player. I don't think one player is bigger than the program. So I don't think that that's a good argument or a good case. I do think that it's a better argument to say if you keep Lagway, then you keep the LJ McCrays, maybe Trey Wilson, Aiden Mizell, Tank Hawkins, TJ Abrams. You keep all the other players. I think that's a much better argument. But as far as just keeping Lagway, I don't think keeping one player is worth the future of the program because it doesn't matter if you have those players. If you feel like you have a lame duck coach, why does it matter if you have all those players if you have a coach that can't get the job done, right? Billy hasn't done enough to keep his job. Nothing is even at 45%. We don't even have an identity. Yes, the players love him, but his process is too slow for the SEC. I agree with you. The players love him. And this is a thing that I spoke about last year when people started talking about firing him. And it's the thing I spoke about this spring and this summer when people were talking about getting him fired or that he should be fired or that all the things where I've said, hey, Florida has a public perception problem where I think that Florida's really bad at public relations. Florida's really bad at PR because internally people are really bought in. Players are really bought in. I spoke about it after they lost to Arkansas last year. After they lost to Arkansas last year and people were like, oh, Florida might not win a game for the remainder of the season. I was talking about it saying I spoke to multiple players after that game And the consistent message was, I know it's tough, but like, I really wish Billy has enough time to get this done. Billy's getting that time. That's no longer a thing about he needs more time. So we'll see about the future. Lane wasn't coming. Oh, yeah, I already read that. And I said, it doesn't matter. It's just an automatic trigger in his contract. I don't know why you would want Lane. He's a coach that wins, but never wins the big games. He'll never win a natty. He's Mark Richt. Here's the thing. Winning a natty at Ole Miss is different. Recruiting at Ole Miss is different compared to doing it in Florida. And again, that's a concern of mine for Lane. I'm not saying that. I think that one of the reasons that they kept Billy may be that they think this is a really bad coaching cycle. If you need a proven offensive-minded winner at the Power 4 level, that's also affordable. That's a lot of things that, I think that might go into keeping Billy for another year. Next year, Jed Fish's buyout goes down a bit. Maybe that's who you're looking at. If he has another good year at Washington next year, maybe that's it. But I will say that, yes, I understand Lane's flaws. Every coach has those flaws. But I do think that with Lane, you could say, hey, you haven't been at a premier spot as the head coach in a while. Lane had a top-tier program in USC. Different era of college football, right? It's a completely different era there. So I don't think that's a good argument either. He was just tired of people saying it and not letting the man coach his team because of all the fire him talk. That's not true. Like, that's simply put not true. Scott Strickland wasn't like, you know what? I need to put out this statement because people need to let him do his job and coach. No, Florida has consistently proven and shown you to your face that they don't care about your opinion, that they don't care about these things. They show it to you every day, all the time. They show you they don't care. And every time it's like, oh no, you guys, the narrative. Like, I get the comments every day about your negativity around things. It's impacting recruiting. No, it's not. Recruits, and I will say this, if it is impacting recruiting, those recruits are making bad decisions. They're going through the process poorly, because if I don't know you personally, if I don't know you individually, my opinion about the program should not impact if that's a program you want to play for. It shouldn't. If I don't know you personally, I don't know your situation, doesn't matter. Like my opinion shouldn't matter in you making your decision, because I have people talk to me about the narrative that gets pushed. You want a different narrative pushed? Win some damn football games. I really don't care about people getting mad about the narrative. Win damn football games. I'm not lowering my expectations to make anybody else happy or anybody's job easier. This is the SEC. This is the University of Florida. Win some football games or shut the hell up and get the hell out. Those are your alternatives there. We want Lane to tick off all fans, and Gators love swimming in Vol spheres. Miami will throw the bag at him. Maybe. Wouldn't shock me. Don't think he'd go, but wouldn't shock me. A real OC would save his job. Maybe. But again, I feel like if you get into a situation where you say, hey, you have to hire an OC to keep your job, I can't think of a time that genuinely worked out where someone was told, hey, you have to hire an OC to keep your job. I can't remember the last time that actually worked out. That's what I fear there. What if Billy wins all the remaining games and makes the playoff? Never mind, Rob. Wins all the remaining games. All right. I thought that the amendments didn't pass in Florida, but clearly they might have. DJ said Billy is coach. Billy a good coach. Yeah, I do think that DJ likes Billy. I don't think that I know for a fact that he's not the only coach he'd play for. It's tough. And no, it's not that there's no one you can hire to keep this locker room. Trust me, there are coaches you could hire that would keep this locker room together. Lane had a top tier. Yeah, we spoke about that. Good for Florida, good for the football team. Disagree. See if Billy, let's just keep Billy and see if he hires a new OC. I mean, that's where we're at now, right? That's what you have to do. No, let him cook now. I'm not letting anybody. I'm not stopping anybody from doing anything, right? I'm not stopping anybody from doing anything. If he wants to cook, he can cook. Here's the thing. When I come on this show and I give my opinion about things, it's as simple as that. I'm giving my opinion about things. I'm not making these decisions. Me saying I think he should be fired does not matter for the University of Florida. The University of Florida is not going, hey, Brandon Olsen thinks that Billy Napier should get fired. That doesn't matter to them. My opinion, your opinion, does not matter to them. I think what I think about Billy. It's as simple as that. And as far as let him cook now, what stopped him before? Was my opinion stopping him from doing anything productive? No, because this whole summer I did not. This whole summer recruiting sucked, and I wasn't talking about him getting fired. What was the excuse there? What was the narrative there? Need to know that one. I wasn't sitting here going he's fired or he should be fired. I wasn't doing that. I'll wait if someone wants to give me an answer of how things changed recruiting wise, narrative wise, because recruiting class wasn't good then. It's not good now. Interesting. If I was Florida, I'd get Alex Golesh. I think that Alex Golesh needs more experience. This is a good time to do that, right? As for you saying Florida can't afford that right now, that's a fair point. I don't disagree if it's a financial decision, or not that I don't disagree, but if it's a financial decision, I understand it. Like I do. But again, I was told personally about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, that they had the money. If he doesn't, we want him out. Okay, I agree. You would have to be organic, something he's learning, hopefully on hiring. So yeah, hopefully again, look, like I said, even these past weeks and everything, I've been like, look, there are things Billy Napier can do to change my mind, but keeping it close against Tennessee and losing, performing better than you expected against Georgia and losing, blowing out Kentucky are not the things that'll change my mind. There are things Billy can do or could have done, but I mean, first off, at this point, it's moot, right? I stand where I stand. I'm not going to sit here all fall and all winter and harp on whether or not Billy should be fired. I've given my opinion. It is what it is, right? Like if you accept mediocrity, you accept mediocrity. That's on you. That's not my decision. That's not my choice. That's not how I would go about things. But I have higher expectations for the University of Florida than the University of Florida does. And that's a sad situation to be in, if I do say so myself. But we'll see. Again, I'm not going to harp on it. It's just, it is what it is. But yeah, they do fight with all they have for Billy, which is something to say. Yeah, I understand. I respect, hey, they play hard, but at the same time, it's year 3, and it took you until a month into year 3 to get them to play hard at a consistent level. And I don't think that playing hard and losing in year 3 is good enough justification to keep him. To my knowledge, Walter Payton Jr. is supposed to play tonight. Need to choose wisely with the budget they gave us. When you have rivals generally wanting you to keep your coach, it's time to get rid of him, point blank, period. You said it, not me. I don't need to say it, but you said it. $100 million can keep the locker room, still not guaranteed wins if Ole Miss. No, but there's no guarantee in any coaching hire. That's an important thing too. I feel like too many people are like, oh, but there's this question mark with Lane. There's this question mark with this guy. There's question marks with everybody. That's not a good argument to not get Lane. There's question marks with every single coach on the planet, everywhere, except maybe Kirby. That's it. There's question marks with everyone, everywhere. That doesn't matter. 4 minutes left in the game versus Georgia. They tried. If you had a QB, you might have. But again, I don't care about might have. I don't care about the hypotheticals. I don't care about, oh, you kept it close. I don't care about any of that crap. Win the games, and I will care. Georgia still scored 34, gave up 500 yards. I will say part of that is because the offense could not stay on the field, and they got tired during the end of the game. And it was clear in the second half that Florida was tired. The defense was tired, and they got really hurt. So, and again, that's the thing. I've said before, I don't think that the Georgia game is a good example to say that he should be fired. I also don't think it's a job. I don't think it's a game to say he should keep his job. It's simple. I don't think it's a good. I think there are plenty of examples for Billy to get fired or Billy to keep his job, and I don't think the Georgia game is either of them. Don't think so at all. I think that if we give him a chance to see what he does, because if you think about it, we don't have a budget or resources to get a new coach. I think that if you fire Billy and Scott Strickland, I think money will come in. I will say that. 100 million can keep the locker room together. So I don't even think you need 100 million really, or maybe 100 million if you're talking fire Billy, which is 25 million. Get a buyout, pay a new coach 11 million, 12 million, and then the rest on other things. Even then, I don't know if you need that much. Urban Meyer, he doesn't have a job, but would he do it? No, not to my knowledge. He wouldn't. He's done, and I don't think he'd be a good long-term answer. I think that if you were to even consider Urban Meyer, and we're going to end on this talking point, I think if you were to even consider Urban Meyer, it would have to be Ole Miss spent a lot of money on team, and Ohio State, yeah, they did, but doesn't mean that it's not going to pay off. You have to hit in the portal. And it's difficult to understand why anyone would donate to UF or continue to buy to here. Also, before we get back to the Urban thing, do not stop donating to Florida Victorious. In my opinion, that's not what I'm going to do. And I said this a month or two ago. I just reallocated my funds because in Florida Victorious, you can choose where your money goes. I put mine into basketball. You can do that as well. I think that the decision to fire Billy would have been great weeks ago. I think that would have been better weeks ago and given yourself more time to prep for the early signing period. We're going to get to the Urban bit and then wrap up there. I think that if you were going to even consider Urban, the move would have been fire Billy, let Urban be the interim, get Urban for another 2 years, let a young coach like an Alex Golesh prove himself, and then you move Urban to like a GM role or some kind of front office role and let the new coach go there. That's fair, Rob. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I'm just saying what I did. Anybody that wants to change coaches again after 3 years is bat-ass crazy. That's the definition of insanity. Here's the thing. If you get the hire right, it doesn't matter. Again, I think year 3 is where you can tell if a guy will or I think year 3 is where you can tell a guy won't win you a national championship. I think that's where we're at with Billy Napier, and so I don't think you need to keep him. But thank you all so much. We went longer than a normal show, and that was not expected at all. But thank you all so much. Still can't believe that this is my job. Very grateful for that. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free to listen to the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow talking Florida and Texas and what Florida needs to do if they're going to win or if they're going to give themselves a shot. I'll see you all next time.